Welcome to the Range Podcast. I'm Ricky Brule, and with me is Jake Hollywood Iverson. Join us at the Archery Range, where we'll tell stories from the hunt, discuss technical bow shooting tactics and gear, and pick the brains of some of the most successful people to ever shoot a bow. Whether you're about to shoot that X for the win or send an arrow at a trophy buck, this podcast is for you. The Range Podcast is brought to you by Vapor Trail Archery, makers of the best bowstrings money can buy, originators of limb-driven arrow rest technology, and innovators of Stokerized stabilizer systems. Welcome to The Range, everybody. I'm your host, Ricky Brule, here with my co-host, Mr. Jake Hollywood Iverson.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good.
Excellent. Super excited. Oh, wait, go ahead. You were
I
going
was
to
going
say
to say I'm
something.
honored to be your co-host. Yeah, it's not this guy, huh?
Well, maybe I'm the co-host and you're the host. Either way, we're both co-hosts.
Well, our guest could be the host.
There we go.
Yeah.
I'll let him
That
do the
sounds like a
intro.
horrible idea.
I'm going to see if anybody can guess whose voice that is.
Dover could. Dover could.
Yeah, he could. We're excited to be here with Mr. Nate Axtman. He joined Hollywood and I on a mule deer hunt this year. Tons of fun. Super exciting. Lots of farts. Figured we would just talk a little bit about that. Figure our listeners would enjoy hearing some stories about chasing after mule deer with a bow. So welcome back, Mr. Nate Axtman. Appreciate you coming on, bud.
Well, yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's always fun to get back together again and reminisce about all the trips and opportunities and the failures and the fun and
I was going to say the lack of success.
That's a nicer way to say it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely given Nate a PhD in failure.
Yeah, he's probably, I can't believe sitting out on his hills watching us. I mean, that's got to be tough.
It's and both we talked about it multiple times too. You can do 100% right every time.
Mm-hmm.
They still have to do 100% wrong and screw up. And, just laying down some of those tracks on the stalks that we went on and just getting into range. And then just that last little bitty thing that's the difference between success and watching a big white butt bound away on those hills and the long walk back.
Yeah. And it's hot as hell.
Yeah. Right. It was warm.
Right.
It definitely was pretty warm.
There's beautiful scenery out there in Nova Scotia, but,
Yeah.
beyond that, that's about all we got.
Yeah. My phone is full of sunrises and sunsets. That's what I was doing, getting a lesson in how to take those photos properly.
Well, disappointingly, we didn't even get you that grouse picture so you could really become a huntress.
Right? I know.
One of these years, right?
Yeah.
It's not too late.
No, we got
Still
plenty
got
of
some
season
time.
for grouse left.
So Nate had some success already this year, right off the bat. I mean, I got a success photo. Gosh, what was it, like almost 2 or 3 days into the opener in Nova Scotia?
It would have been the Saturday night opener or Sunday night opener. I snuck out there late Saturday, didn't even get a chance to hunt, just kind of looked at a few spots and hit my Sunday morning spot and didn't find anything that really got me too excited. Watched doe after doe after doe and fawns go. And so I've got a couple midday spots that I like to go glass and look for beds. And, it's they seem to be better early season spots. So I don't know what it was, 11 o'clock, 11:30. I found an absolute stud tucked into a bed that I screwed up, but just tucked in nicely. The wind was perfect. The stock was good. I didn't even have to spend the time like the three of us did, laying out a long track and eased up in there. And sure enough, I find myself at sub 15 yards, which might be a bit close. And deer is bedded, starting to doze off. I've got no shot. So I get settled in and I've got a piece of that famous Nova Scotia scoria tucked under my knee, and kind of all of a sudden I hear this big crack. Well, that piece of scoria broke. The deer heard it and And he bounded off to places where there weren't random noises coming from his bedroom, and watched him walk away. So yeah, tucked my tail, wandered back to the truck, went back to camp, had a little food, regrouped, went back up to basically the same area, just another big finger over, and found another daytime bedded buck. Wasn't super sure if I was going to shoot him or not, but I was going to sure go on that stalk because it's never not fun to go sit inside of 30 yards on something. And, it's happened before where the stalk turns into an opportunity that it was just too fun to do. So you end up shooting them. And kind of started working my way around. I've got about a half-mile stalk to get tucked in, and I've kind of laid out my plan. There's a few little shady spots where you just got to watch out for shadows. Hint, hint, wink, wink. I ended up having to belly crawl over the top of a little saddle because I could see my shadow was casting across the little fingers that they were tucked into, and found myself tucked in nicely. I could range the Nova Scotia sage that was on top of this little bed, and I was sitting there at 27 yards. I'm like, well, I got about 2.5, 3 hours before sunset, so I'm just going to get settled in here. And an hour goes by, nothing's really moved. The bed is deep enough I couldn't see the deer in the bed. It starts getting a little bit darker, and nothing's moved there. And off to my left shoulder, I just see something moving. So I kind of look through the sage, and it's quite a large mule deer rack that's walking out of a little finger that I had to work around. And he comes down into this bottom and starts feeding on the opposite bank, just keeps working his way down. And without moving, I've ranged a spot that if he wanders into it, he's going to be standing there at 44 yards, looking away, feeding on the opposite bank. Well, this deer's taking his sweet time, and I haven't moved. I'm like, well, I shoot a little farther than 44. I just need this sagebush to get out of the way. And kind of made the decision to just slide 3 feet down the hill, and waited till there was a little gust of wind in my face and slid down that hill. Deer still hasn't ever looked my direction. Get a range on him, dial the sight up, and settle a pin into that shoulder. And I watched him tip over about 25 yards after I shot him. So
nice, sweet.
Yeah, it was nice. It was deep dark canyon, so it was a fun pack out by myself as my buddies were we were coming into camp. So I had texted them that I killed one and kind of gave them some pins and like, hey, I wouldn't mind a pack out help. And I literally had pulled the last of the last piece up and dropped it off on the side of this little 2-track as I saw the headlights from their vehicle getting to the gate. So they got to come over just in time to see it and laugh at me just pouring sweat, and so no, I ended up getting, having a favorable outcome, and, it wasn't the deer I went down there to bet on, but it sure wasn't a deer I was questioning. It was a deer that was no ifs, ands, or buts, something I would shoot. So, yeah. So that wasn't a bad way to start the season.
Yeah. And in full velvet, right?
Full velvet. Yeah. He didn't even wreck anything falling over, which was nice.
Nice. Yeah. That can be hard to do out there.
Mm-hmm.
With that time of year, I mean, how much sunburn are you getting with that?
Well, it was plenty. Thankfully, I pulled the hood up, and I didn't have anything but my release finger exposed to the sun. But it was even that night it was still in the 80s by the time I got that thing packed out, and just the sun beating on you. But that's one of those times where it's really, you really learn about the shadows and the shade and why they're in the beds that they're in that time of year, and where they're going to be in different beds, come October, and different beds come November. And, some of them are the same, but, stuff like that is they're tucked into these little cool spots where they're out of the sun and, wind at their back. It's, once you start finding them, that's something I love to do is go look, glass up beds in the middle of the day, and, starting to find a little more success around that is sure not a bad thing.
Right. Are you generally just wearing like a sun hoodie then? Because I'm just trying to think, like, I don't typically, I mean, well, once in a while whitetail season get like, some hot days, but that's just sitting still out there. I mean, I'm thinking like t-shirts or long sleeve or maybe a sun hoodie or something, because that's hot.
And it's this year I was hunting in. I did a bunch of stuff. Coda Silence came out with a new bamboo ultra lightweight hoodie, nice. And I used that this year. In the past, I've used some of and I'm a big merino natural fiber person. So I've used some of the First Light Wick hoodies. Actually, it's not a natural, but the Sitka ultra lightweight, those little quarter zip hoodies with the built-in hood. Those things are about the lightest piece of equipment I've found, and I'll use some of those too. But it's my preference is definitely merino.
Yeah,
or a natural fiber like the bamboo.
Yep, that's exactly what I like to run. This is actually merino wool as well. Doesn't look like it.
Fancy.
Yeah, but
100% cotton.
Yeah.
Cotton is rotten.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's just, it's interesting to talk about like early season versus, we typically go later season when it's either blizzards like you guys have had, or I guess I had my one as well. But yeah, typically it's colder, a few more layers going on. But I mean, when we were out there, God, that one day with the stock that I went on, I sent that text to you that you never got because I was way down in the valley. I was sweating so damn bad. I was like, Nate, I'm getting naked down here. I need to just freaking air out real quick. It was so bad.
I mean, I actually got the text. I just wanted to get my spotter on so I could get a little show before Oh, man, we really did, though. We ran into those cold mornings. We were down in the high 30s, low 40s, and what was it, 74 that one afternoon and 71. Yep. Like we had some pretty good temperature fluctuations, and that's where layering is, the king. You can't get away with just a warm cotton hoodie and sweat through. You're wet and cold the rest of the day.
That's kind of like just this last weekend with whitetails. Just like your pack's about like this wide because you got like your normal base layer, like maybe a quarter zip and a light jacket on. And then you've got your, super heavy jacket or like a glassing jacket, pants, mittens, whatever. Like you have to pack so much extra crap for when you're actually sitting down and just going to be there for a while. It's tough.
You almost need to carry a duffel just for those days. In addition
Seriously.
Seriously. Yeah. You just got to pack. You just got to go in light, so that you can breathe, get all that sweat off you as you move, and then you get there. Once you settle into the tree, you start getting a little chilly. Put a layer on, get a little chilly. Put another layer on.
Yeah, that's why the down stuff or the synthetic like Primaloft stuff is just king in that situation. I have like those down glassing pants, which I never needed once when we were out there. I mean, I was debating the last day because the last day I was there when you guys were all gone. You were at meetings, and these guys headed home. It's like it was 19 degrees when I got up. I'm like, ooh, it's going to be extra layers today.
It dipped on you for sure.
Like, whew. And then it was going to be 50. I think by noon it was 56. And I'm like, good Lord, talk about a swing. Like, that's pretty crazy. But
the desert. It's pretty wild swings.
Yeah, Nova Scotia's wild
there. So we'll talk about this a little bit later, Nate, but you had some success with a nice whitetail. That was in Missouri?
Yeah, just down in Missouri. So, pretty fortunate. A couple of the guys that are the primaries for the agency I have my contract with own a nice little chunk of property down there with a cabin on it. And the last 3 years here, they've kind of given me the, hey, go ahead and go down there. Just treat the property like it's your own and, have fun. Mm-hmm. And they do. They're more of rifle and box blind type of setups as opposed to the archery setups. But I've got property and just have fun on it. So yeah, and it was I ended up getting pretty lucky. I had real nice 5x5 with 2 broken off points that ended up making a third trip in front of the same stand that I killed a deer out of last year. On its third trip in front of the same stand. So something I had set up, which actually, guy feels pretty good. A mule deer hunter managed to figure out one whitetail spot. So back a little bit, right?
Yeah. You're probably like, what the hell are these guys struggling with? I mean, same spot. Just watch them a couple times kill.
Yeah. And No, it was kind of cool. So I was sitting in a different field, and had seen this buck on my second morning, and it's, I don't know, 400 yards between this little field and a little food plot that I was sitting on. And unfortunately, it just didn't work where either one of them had been freshly planted this year. But there was some of the natural grasses that were super green compared to everything else that these deer would come in and out and eat on. But yeah, the acorns out of these food plots I've never seen something like that. Even early November, I'm sitting there and the wind gust comes up and it sounds like it's raining, except raining rocks.
Right. Yeah.
And so I'd seen this buck that morning. I went over, the wind was changing that afternoon, so it was actually going to be favorable in that spot that I ended up shooting him in. So I went and tucked in there, and I don't know what it was, 5 after 5, sunsets was right about 5 o'clock. Well, I hear a little crunch behind me on this trail, and well, sure enough, here's this buck following a doe. No shot opportunities came by. They just continued down this little creek bottom and worked along doing their thing. The next day, I have the wrong wind, so I'm not sitting there. So I had hung a trail camera up, and I went and checked the trail camera the following morning. Well, sure enough, he'd been there at like 5:07 or 5:09 in front of the camera, which was, 20 yards from where he was the night before. So finally going to have the right wind for the next day. And I'm sitting there, and I've been covered up in does and spike buck and stuff since about 2 p.m. And it gets to be 5:05, and I've already got the bow on my lap. I am waiting because this deer is showing up. It's going to happen the same as it did the year before, which the year before, my first visual on that buck in that plot, the first and second visual and third visual, which was the night I killed him, were all within 30 minutes of each other. Jeez. Well, sure enough, 5:07, out of the same trail the buck had come from the year before, this guy steps out and starts wandering out in front of me. So it was, it couldn't have penciled it any better. I think it was 5:10 or 5:12, must have been 5:12, that I checked my phone after I shot him, because it was 7 minutes, all within 7 minutes, 3 days in a row that he was in the same spot. And it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, man.
So
sometimes you get lucky like that. Like some of them become very patternable like that. And I know something about that, but
yeah, that's what's nice about whitetails. You don't get a lot of that coming out of mule deer, but
they can run all over the place, but it's just crazy. Like I had one just like that on our property. Is 11:48 every single day in the morning. Like he'd be there, and he did it again. It's like he's there.
And even some of the whitetail hunting I'd done in North Dakota previously, I'd never had deer that would pattern in the same spots like that. Now, I suspect that might have been the person choosing the spots that was more responsible for it, as opposed to the deer not being as consistent. Right. But yeah, to me, it just blows my mind. The night I shot him, one of the other cool things is after I was heading home, because I had a couple extra doe tags to stick around, and I ended up shooting a bonus doe for a couple more back straps and some more meat to come home. But when I pulled all my cameras, I had a different stand set up in a food plot that's about a half mile from this one. Not a super easy transition between the two. Like if you follow a loop, or just kind of the creek bottoms, eventually that deer makes its way, or that creek system makes its way to that food plot. But 26 minutes before I shot this deer, he was out standing in front of one of my other stands that I had set up in front of that camera, same night. So he was out cruising.
No kidding. Holy crap. You were just at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, well,
that's usually the case.
Yeah. I think I'm very lucky, and I managed to really like dumb deer. And I know I can let those ones keep breeding, so there's more dumb deer for me to shoot or other people to shoot. But yeah, I've just decided that I'm good at targeting dumb deer.
I think that's you made a right decision. It's tough with the whole wind thing. I've been practicing that much more this year about, today's a south wind, I'm not going. today's a north wind. All right, now we can go. It's tough to say no to that day, especially when you're going to check the camera and know that he was there. It's tough. It's like, oh, what if? But just you're
100%.
chopping your odds right in half right away by going in on a risky wind like that. Like, sure, you might get lucky, but if you just wait it out, especially if it's one day, there you go.
Yeah.
You got a tag filled. So
Yep.
Yeah, and that's part of that is all through the history of it, all the different products that help you in the wind. There's ozonics, there's all the sprays, the scent lock, scent blocker stuff. I'm sure all of it helps to an extent, but there's nothing that's better than not sitting in a shitty wind.
Yeah.
So
I was just complaining to these guys about yesterday. I'm like, those scent killing things, the cover scents, all of them. Like, yeah, I think it helps, but they can smell something, or they get something out of whatever your footprint is, and they just know. They're too smart. Like I was telling these guys, like my dad and uncle went trotting around on the property, when I was gone for a week, and it just like my cameras are all of a sudden dead. And I didn't even talk to them at this point. I'm like, they had to have been in the woods on a bad wind. Like they had to have been walking around. And then sure enough, I get up there, talk to them. They're like, oh yeah, we went out to your spot and checked it out. And I'm like, they try to be careful with their scent, but it's like, it doesn't matter. I swear to God, like you can do whatever you want to try and do. They find something, they know it, and then they move.
Well, I mean, I'm no scientist, but not one time when I've been out walking around out in the woods have I ever come across a bottle of like Wildlife Research or just Code Blue, scent elimination product. You know what I mean? So it's not naturally occurring. And so I suppose there's always that risk that it could, trigger something. I use an ozonics in the tree, and I can't say definitively whether a deer has shied away from it ever. Because that's probably not something that's naturally occurring either. But, it's something that's different. And sometimes you get that. You'll get a deer that's just, I don't know if their senses are just a lot more keen than others, or they're different. They have a slightly different personality where they're just like, I'm out of here. I don't like that.
Yeah, I definitely think they all help. It's just, like you said, the easiest way is just not going. Yep. It sucks when you sit there and get the notification like, oh yeah, there's like 2 of my target bucks, standing right in front of the stand while I'm sitting here watching trees blow in the wind. Like, it sucks, but it's like, what if you went in there? You just blow it out for the rest of the season. So, if they don't show up that day, you might just be throwing your scent all the way right into their face, and screw it all up. And then, who knows when the rut comes around, when they're extra stupid, then you just totally blew out that spot. They might have just moved on and said, nah, I'm done with this area. So, yeah, it's tough to take a 0 day, but you have to.
And to play the other side of that card a little bit too, to sit questionable winds. Because there's guys that are diehard, ozonics is the only thing that they'll ever use, and they've had good luck or they've had success on bad winds or questionable winds. Well, there's something to be said for the confidence in your equipment and the confidence in your setup, where maybe, there's definitely days where I probably have erred on the side of being a little too cautious, where I could have gotten away with the wind. And, when I look at that picture, I could have been sitting in the tree and killed that. And, just to have the confidence in your, that I know this is going to help for me. There's guys that do that and do it successfully. There's, I promise there's significantly more successful whitetail hunters than me that believe dyed in the wool and have had unreal success with an ozonics machine that could argue me and put me in my place just by showing me a few pictures. And, but to each their own.
Yeah, for sure.
If I don't like the wind, I'm not going. That's it. That's how I'm going to operate.
Yeah. What I've learned is the what ifs will kill you a lot more than just knowing the end result. If I just don't go on the bad wind day, I just know, I didn't screw anything up. So it's a lot easier than a what if of, oh, I sat there, I saw him, 100 yards away, and then he weirdly went like downwind of me and then just like never came back again. I wonder why.
Well, it makes me think of, I was talking with Damon, and I think it was like earlier, it was like end of September or something like that. He was getting all excited because first cold front of the year was coming, such and such day in October. And he was all excited. And he was like, yeah, the last 2 years in a row, I've got this nice buck that daylights on that day. And I got cameras, I got photos of him on camera and everything. So he's like, so I got to make sure that I'm down there, and he was like, what do you think? It's a 3-hour drive. Is it worth for me to drive down there? Just for one day, because he could only go on there for one day. I was like, yeah, just do it. Why not? You know what I mean? You got good, you got good intel on kind of what happens. You never know. Just get down there. And so he went down, whatever, and he didn't end up seeing him. And when he came back, we were talking about it, and I was like, well, let me ask you this: the 2 previous years, I was like, were you out hunting on those days when that buck showed up on camera? And he was like, no. And I go, well, you know what the common denominator is here? You were there this time. And he kind of like gave me like a little bit of an obtuse look, but I'm like, I can't definitively say that that's not why you didn't see the buck, but there's a good chance that your presence is what prevented him from coming in, depending on how you got in there. He was like, well, my wind was perfect. There's no way he could have caught me. And I'm like,
It's crazy, man.
There's just something in the sand.
Yeah.
Where's it blowing into the bedding? Is he close enough where he hears you get out of the truck? Just all those factors that play into it that just shouldn't. It should be way easier than this.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. I don't think there's ever a perfect way. I think no matter what, it's just a risk. You're going to be putting something out there, whether they heard you come in on your e-bike with a crossbow or if they
put your master camel outfit on and
yeah, exactly. I mean, there's something that they catch, and there's a reason why they get big. It's tough.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit about our trip.
I was gonna say, speaking of wind,
we'll just real briefly kind of jump into kind of how things. Initially, we had planned on it was going to be me and you and Luke. We were all going to go out there during the same week. Damon was going to come along. Nate was going to just like pop in when he could, and so that was kind of the plan. And then that got a little bit derailed. We won't get into that. We won't get deep into that story, but we were able to kind of work things out and kind of figure things out a little bit where we were able to still take the time off, but overlap our time out there, so that we were able to hunt together. So this was technically like the second hunt me and you have ever been on.
Yeah, one day in a turkey blind, more like 3 hours.
Yeah.
It was before work.
So, but yeah, so weren't you sitting in a blind with Rory one morning while I was out there with you guys?
I suppose. Yeah, and we had those toms come right by, and
that
would have been a sketchy shot if it could have happened. Yeah, that didn't really. We needed that last little bit of luck. Yeah, he would have been tagged out for sure. Both of us could have been, but so I guess we sat twice, but apart. And then even this hunt, like I think I hunted more with Nate than I did you guys. But I mean, when you strength in numbers, right? So I mean, put eyes on more animals. So if we can divide and conquer, let's do it that way.
Yeah, I mean, it just made sense because it started with me and Damon. We took off, drove through the night, got there pretty early in the morning, set up our tent. And then, I mean, we had been up all night, so we decided we were just going to take a little bit of a nap. And luckily we've got Nate there. I've got him on payroll. So he was up and at him and at the spot right away. And so we made our way out and met up with them. And that first morning, I'm pretty sure you were able to get eyes on what we think was a buck that I chased after last year.
Yeah, I think it was the second to last day, that straight, clean, typical 4.
Yeah.
I'm 95% sure that was the same deer. I mean, the forks were built the same. I looked back at pictures from last year. That deer looked identical, but man, was he ever in a not stockable spot, and proceeded to just kind of vanish on us for the rest of the trip when we hunted those specific areas.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if he was the one that we later named Hank. I don't know, hard to say, but that one that we kept seeing on private that was up on top of the hill there, he was same thing, just like a clean 4x4, like just beautiful, wide,
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how close of a look you got at him that first morning, but after that, I mean, we saw him up on that same hillside on, I think, day 2. And then we saw him again on the last day in the same spot, so he was just kind of biding his time, just sitting up there watching us fools run around and get hung up on private line fences and
watching the idiots play in the dirt.
Yeah.
Look at these idiots.
Well, it's based on the pictures you'd sent me after I was gone. That really looked like the same deer, and it would, it would make sense. Those deer were playing that. Let's spend all night on private that we don't have access to eating, and when it's time to go back to bed, let's not completely run, but we're not wasting any time sitting here loitering at the top and let no Rick send an arrow at him.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think right before that, I think you had seen, a giant, probably 180, but I was like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to go after him. He's too small. So
yeah, not the first morning trophy hunting again.
See who's in the lobby.
Oh, is he here?
Yeah.
Oh, he is. All right. Well, I did not. Has he been in there for a while?
Just chimed in.
Right on time.
Yeah.
Well, there he is.
Oh my God.
Hey, look at that.
You drop a couple of years? Oh my God.
Sorry, guys. I'm only 30 minutes late.
No, that's okay. That's all right.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, shoot.
I'd say you look like you shaved, but I don't know if you grow facial hair.
Cheers.
Everybody welcome Mr. Damon Wolfe to the podcast. So Damon, we are in the process. We actually just got started talking about the hunt. Nate talked about a few of his success stories prior. And so now we just got through day 1, at least the first morning. And so, we, as we typically do, we headed back to camp to kind of get some things back in order after Nate had seen that nice mule deer that was in an unstockable area. Mm-hmm. And so what did we do? Everything just kind of blends together. It's hard for me to remember exactly how everything went. I think we went back out there that evening and we're trying to look to see if he came out of there. Right.
Yeah, we kind of stuck to that same area for more or less those first 3 days, because that's, we watched him in there last year. We watched Frank in the same area last year. We checked out a couple different glassing spots and kind of actually went and looked deeper, just, based on pressure and history they're not going to go to softer spots. They're going to go to harder spots to get to. And, we just struggled to really find any good numbers of deer anywhere that weren't just coming on and off that private stuff that we had no access to. Mm-hmm. So there was a little different to start our hunt compared to last year, where we were 4 seconds into the first hunt and you're already halfway down the hill on a stalk.
Yeah.
That's the difference between that wide open, I guess there wasn't too many leaves where we were out in Nova Scotia there, but there's some good bushes. But when it's that much snow and just like they're rutted up like that, it's just like, I mean, you can get on them so quick, but they were definitely a little more lethargic, I'd say.
Yeah.
This go around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and we had. So I think when we moved over to that bowl, there was a little bit more wandering and activity, but yeah, definitely. Yeah, those first couple of days, it was tough. It was tough sailing.
Yeah, because I think so. Then, like the second morning, I think we went to our normal spot, and Damon spotted a good buck on this bench, pretty much directly across from us, and I feel like we just kind of watched him, and then we lost him. We didn't see where he bedded down. So then we kind of made a move to get up into like a position to see if we could cut him off on his way up to his feeding area coming out of that drainage. Right. I think that was the evening of day 2. Damon and I kind of got up into position and we're trying to wait him out to see if he would come past us.
So I was thinking that was day 3 because I think that's when I had to go back. But now that you say that, I think I actually could only hunt the first day and a half. Had to come back and do some stuff for basically another day and a half. So I think that's correct. That was that night.
Yeah. So Damon and I took a hellish trip over to the other side in hopes that we could get ourselves into position. And so we get up there and we're just kind of waiting it out, and I'm trying to get my bearings. I'm watching the video that I got of the buck from the morning and trying to see, okay, where's this hump and where was that? Just trying to make sure I'm looking into the right drainage to see if he's going to come out of there. And so we're just sitting there, and all of a sudden I can hear something. It sounds like a buck rubbing a tree, and it's fairly close. I mean, it's got to be within 100 yards. It might have been closer than that. I think we determined it was probably maybe closer to like 50 or 60 yards, but I'm like, get the camera, let's go. I grabbed my bow and I was like, let's slowly kind of work our way over and see if we can see what's going on over there. And we didn't get more than 10 yards, and we hear him, bounding out of there. What we suspect is probably a buck. I still never got eyes on it, never even saw what it was. All we could hear was that classic mule deer leap.
Unmistakable sound of feet.
Yep, exactly. So that was, but still pretty fun. You know what I mean? Just like making moves, trying to get into position, trying to, strategize and just come up with something instead of just sitting there and just hoping that they're going to make the wrong move. Just try to get ahead of them a little and try to make a move. And it didn't pan out, but still tons of fun. That hike out of there was fun. I know Damon was having a great time getting us out of there.
Oh yeah, I'd go on just.
Yeah, he was a navigator. He was just looking at the phone, and we were just following our track out of there. Because getting in, we didn't probably take the best path of least resistance getting in there, but getting out was a little bit better because we were able to kind of map it out and get out that way. But so then you bailed. Well, wait, no, you hunted with us the next morning.
And then he bailed after that.
Sorry, what was that, Damon?
I think he hunted the next morning, but then left after the morning hunt.
Okay.
I can't remember.
I think
it's day
Dude,
2.
it all just was like one long day.
Right? It does.
It was all just one big day.
Damon's just like, yeah, I'm just going to keep bombing these hills with all this camera gear. Just forget about me. Just all this stuff I got to carry.
Oh, man.
Damon's climbing those hills.
I was light that trip. I was light.
Yeah,
smart.
Yeah, you did. You ran the lighter camera.
Yeah, after day 1, I was like, yeah, no, I'm just gonna bring the bare necessities to get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
Because those hills humble you very quick.
Yeah. Well, especially when it starts getting warm by afternoon, like even 10, 11 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were just talking about earlier, like your layers that you got somewhat cool in, sitting on the hillside getting smoked in the face with wind, now you start moving around and you got like a bunch of camera gear with you or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, now I'm sweating.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm just drained. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, so it was that, what was it? So day 3, you showed up, right?
I showed up Friday night. That's all I know.
That would be our day
2.
Yeah, that would be our day. Technically, second day of hunting, because we left Wednesday night.
Didn't you leave Tuesday night?
We left Tuesday night.
Yeah. And then you hunted Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Okay.
So that would have been
okay.
day
So
3.
yeah, you showed up on our day. Okay.
Yeah. late on Friday.
Gone.
Yeah. And then Nate had a pretty nice little camp set up out there. That was kind of a nice little spot for us to kick it in the evenings while we licked our wounds from the day.
Yeah, back, turn on have a little heat, little satellite TV to just have in the background, and after last year and that. Oh yeah, absolutely. After last year of 2 nights in the 11 and 14 below zero, that made the decision of, is it camper time very, very easy. So
yeah.
So
you come back and watch all those pros hunt on TV.
I can confidently say.
Try learn something.
Exactly.
I can confidently say I now have a Diet Dr. Pepper problem.
I saw that on your
because of you, Nate. I saw you drink them. I saw you drink them. Like, I haven't had one of those in a long time, and I picked one up. Like, I think one of the nights I was out there, and I've had like 2 or 3 every day since.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's bad. I mean, it's good,
it's
but
23 flavors. How do you go wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
Get a little flavor of everything.
The McDonald's Sprite, when you drink it, you're just like, you kind of like twitch out a little bit. No, it's me. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of like that. Yep, it's kind of like that, but constant. It's just good. You open the can and you take the sip, and you're just like, oh, here we go. Yes, sir.
Oh, it's got a Dr. Pepper
drinking
right
fentanyl or something.
Got one.
Yeah.
So we got to go out with Hollywood.
How was Friday morning? I think I drove all day, and then I got there and literally just like kissed the ground. I was so happy to be back in Nova Scotia. But how was that morning hunt of day 3?
Well,
Nate was back at this time.
So we
not.
hunted.
Oh, you weren't?
No, he wasn't. So I think Nate was right. It was like it was that Friday when we saw that buck Damon found that buck in the morning, and then Damon and I went up, because then I think, Nate, you left, and then that's when Damon and I went up, and it didn't pan out. So then we went back, and then Hollywood showed up that night, and then in the morning, the 3 of us.
No, Nate was there.
Yeah, because I was outside the shack when Hollywood drove by, and you were there, Nate.
That's right, he was there.
Yeah.
This podcast is going to be labeled like recreating the timeline of our hunt.
Wow.
People get
Nate
the point.
brought me to the bowl.
Yeah.
You guys, I don't even know where you guys went.
Because Damon and I spent one morning at the bowl. Just him and I. Damon and I did.
That had been.
We went to the bowl before. We went to the bowl before Nate got back.
Yep.
And
Yeah, because you guys went in there Friday morning, kind of on somewhere else to go, and then because I didn't get back to hunt Friday night, and then so Saturday morning would have been the first night I was back when me and Hollywood went over to the bowl.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now we're back in order, guys.
We were laughing that you were going to be there for all of like 4 hours and have the first stock solid deer bedded stock opportunity. They're breaking it, working his butt off for 3 days.
Yeah.
Yep. I just show up and I'm like, all right, boys, it's time to get down and let's do this thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Where's the deer? I'll go stalk him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where's the first hole and what's the course record? That was my MO going out there. Where's the deer? Let me go get after him. All right, sounds good. You guys stay here. You tell me when I F it up.
So now I'm brought back to Nate thinking that he may have seen Frank. Well, and now I'm pretty sure we're confident that it was probably him, because he was dang near in Montana. That's how he's so big that we were able to see him that far away. And I was like, that's not a deer. I'm like, that's just like I don't know what that is. And then 10 minutes goes by and Nate's like, hey, that deer's gone. I'm like, look over there. Sure thing. Gone.
What was only 1.7 miles on, on Onyx?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I couldn't believe that you spotted a deer that far out, but so that's when we decided to kind of switch things up. So Damon and I went and got into a position to maybe see if we could find Frank. And meanwhile, then Nate and Hollywood went over to another spot, what we're labeling as the bowl. Mm-hmm. And then, so Damon and I didn't have any luck really finding any deer in there. It was wild in there. We could have been in the Himalayas. I mean, it was like there. I was like, gosh, if we find a buck down in here, I don't even know if I want to go get it. So then we kind of made a move and we were glassing some other areas. And then that's when we got the text from you guys saying that you were getting ready to go on a stalk. And what were we, Damon? We were like almost 4 miles away, I think.
At least 2.5, 3.
Yeah.
It was for sure 3.
I was
no
like,
less than 3 miles.
We hauled ass.
Yeah, I was like, all right, well, it's probably gonna take us about an hour to get there. Nate's like, all right, we'll get going. So we hoofed it.
I feel so bad, man.
By the time we got over there, well, I'll let you, because you started.
There's
your
nothing
stock.
to talk about. We can just keep going.
This is instead of going around and around in circles about which day we're on and what morning we're on, let's just get to the highlights. So you guys, you spot a buck.
Yeah. And I don't have any antlers to show, so anyway,
there's still a story.
You're a terrible storyteller.
There's still a story to tell.
Measure of success is by how many inches the antlers are. So yeah, I guess Nate and I were on that deer, and just to cut out some of the boring details of sitting on your ass in the sand for hours. We put eyes on that one, and he went and bedded. Well, actually, I think we lost sight of him, didn't we? And then we kind of moved to a different glassing spot, didn't we? Just to see if we could get better eyes on where he went down.
Yeah, so it was, we basically watched him work all the way from the top of the rim, all the way down to the bottom, around that little water hole, or right by it, and then back up to within, what we figure, 400, 500 yards of where we first saw him.
Yeah.
But he basically put on a mile loop to get there. And then he tucked around a corner and we never saw him come back out. That's where we moved to try to relocate him, because it was a spot where there was basically a 50-yard area that we couldn't see, that either he bedded there or somehow he just vanished. And yeah.
And then we put eyes on him again, and we were in a good spot to watch him. And then he was in I'd say fairly good spot. I feel like the wind was it was blowing toward him, wasn't it? From where I would have had to come from. But I think with the terrain features in the way, it was going to be able to work out for my favor.
The easy stock version, the wind was blowing right to him. The stock that you had to do, which was the complete opposite of the easy stock, that one managed to keep your wind in a good spot.
Yeah. Well, and that's like, at first we were looking at it and we're like, well, we could drive around, like we're dicing it up on how to do this. And then I just figured, honestly, I was like, well, it's like, what was it, like 10:30, maybe 11? And I was like, well, never being with Nate or you guys before, I'm like, oh, maybe they're just gonna pack it up. But inside, I'm like, dude, I so want to go for this. And Nate starts looking at his phone. He's like, wow, you could go around this way. I'm like, yep, I like that. Yeah, let's go with that. Let's do that. I mean, this buck is like, I think I ranged it just for fun, and I think it's maybe like 700 yards. It's just under 700 yards away. But like, to get there, I tracked it, and it was a full mile that it took for me to get around to him, and a freaking hour, and I ended up videotaping like the worst fall I've ever taken in the hills back there. Just completely smashed the bow.
Bow takes a digger.
Yeah. I mean, Jeremiah, he saw the video. He's like, well, at least you're able to, toss the bow into the bush and, save it. I'm like, oh no, that was on flip number 3. It finally landed in a bush. But yeah, I mean, that was when I eventually got down to that creek bottom and texted Nate, and I was like, dude, I'm so hot right now. Just like take the base layers off. Like, I'm down to just like bare minimum that I could do. And yeah, I was crawling on my freaking hands and knees, getting through the trees, and just, it can be grueling, how slow you have to go through this stuff. And this, like, and it's so stupid, because when you get into that stuff, you're like calculating a 6-inch step. You're like, there's a stick here. There's a stick here. Don't want to hit the bow on this so it doesn't make a metallic twang, and we're at this point sub 100. So it's like, everything in my mind, everything in your head is just calculated. And it's just like, oh my gosh, what do I do here? What do I do here? And then I think I finally got to the back side of the hill, and like sending these texts to Nate, probably not going through. Most of them I don't think did, but it's just like, I'm sitting there going, it's so quiet. Like, it's just eerily quiet. It's just so funny. Like, you can sit up on those hills and you're just getting whipped with wind. And then all of a sudden you're sub 100 and the wind is like not moving. So it's like you step on one blade of grass and it's like, and I'm like, this is not quiet. What am I doing? And Nate basically said that the whole plan was if he's standing straight up on that hill, it's done. It's over. And I'm like, I had no faith in myself because I'm just like, again, crawling through shit. Like, just, it was some gnarly stuff to get to this back side of this hill. I get up to the, midpoint on the back side of this hill, and I look over there. I'm like, well, son of a bitch, Nate's still sitting. Unless he's just effing with me at this point. And I can see it. Nate's a sick and twisted individual. So I'm like, he's probably letting me have it. So.
Well, I think we had said, what was it? I'd put my, if he was gone, I'd flip my seat pad up just so the orange side was there. So you knew to just turn around and bail. But that deer had no clue in the world you were there.
None. And so then it's up to me to fail the rest of it. So I just, climb up this hill and, I get up there and it's like in my head, I'm thinking like brown bush. And then I think there's like a, another cedar tree or something. And I'm like, he's got to be to the left. And then that's when it's so funny how it played out in sync for you and I, because I like had just crested over because I'm like trying to see down. I know he's bedded close. And like, we're definitely danger close at this point. And I'm like, he's way to the left. I'm like, shit, there's a lot of trees in the way. And I like look a little closer. I'm like, oh my God. And then, like, that's when it sinks in. I'm like, that's his freaking like hind end right there. And I can see his ribs. I'm like, oh God. And then Nate's like watching me at this point, and he knows what's going on. I have no idea yet, but I had seen the buck's like rack just turn at one point. I'm like, oh, that's for sure him. Grab the rangefinder. It's 32 yards straight downhill, and I'm like, it's just one of those things where he's still bedded, so I don't know what the right answer could have been. It's small margin of error. So then everything's running through my head. I'm like, okay, 32 yards, got the sight set for that. But if I miss high, I'm just giving him a flesh wound. If I miss low, it's straight to the spine, hopefully a cracked spine. I mean, it's just, or it's one lung, if I shoot him in his bed. So it's like, all right, we'll try and wait. And then I think I was just about to grab the binos just to see, if there's a chance I could slip one in there. And at that point, man, it took 0.1 seconds. He was up and gone. Just nothing at all. He was out of there. Just didn't even look back. And I had ranged one other spot at like 70 yards where maybe he'd stop. Man, he did not stop at all. And I think it was 0.1 seconds for the buck to get up and run, 0.2 seconds to all of a sudden, since I'm on top of a hill, get a text from Nate saying, I'll see you at the watering hole. I'm like, got it. Yeah, that thing's gone.
And it had to be right about that point when we walked up on Nate, because he was just starting to get ready to start packing all the stuff up.
Yeah. You guys walked all that way just to see a failed stock, but I mean, everything for the most part was just good. The wind was maybe getting a little sketchy. Yeah. They were just watching me sweat coming down that hill, crawl through the valley again of hell, and then go up the rock face that has no sun protection. And at that point, I think it was 72. I'm just like, oh my God, like it makes it so much worse when it's, failed stock after an hour and, a mile and all the other things. But yeah, it is what it is. And yeah, I mean, I did not send it.
From my perspective, I'm sitting there and I've got the binos on the tripod and I've got you in one side and I've got the deer in the other. And it's like, oh man, I am going to watch this thing get just fed an arrow. And I kind of go over to just paying attention to him. And I just see the shadow move across the bush in front of him. and his head snapped around back towards you so fast that, like I told you, you might have been able to tag him because he broke his own neck. It snapped around that fast. And, oh, man, it was like, oh, no.
That was the futile mistake. And that was the reason why I saw his head turn. Little did I know, but, I was not at that point. Shadow was not even in my head, and shadow is what casted right to him. And that's like Nate, what he's watching is just, there goes my shadow and there goes his head. And that's right when I saw the whole rack move. And I'm like, oh, he's moving his head. And I'm like, stay low. Yeah, whatever. Not knowing I already just gave away the whole thing. Hey man, I'm going to go try to shoot you. So I'm going to give you like a minute here to get up. And that's what I did. Sent him a little postcard, love note, everything. Just, he's gone. But yeah, did not send an arrow at that one.
That's a bummer.
That's a what if, for sure. But I don't know. It would have sucked. It just was not confident in that shot. And I don't know. I'm more confident in not taking that shot, knowing that, I could have just went one long and we would have been walking that freaking valley for the next night. Who knows?
We might still be there trying to find him.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows? It's just like, it's hard to say. You could think about the spine, but what if you get, Kyle just showed us that picture of some dude that was super unfortunate to send one into the spine and, it lived. It's like, yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, no.
It's not an ideal spot. It's not a vital hit. You're going to have to run a second arrow anyway. So yeah, that's tough.
And it was for watching you. It was an awesome stock to watch from the peanut gallery. Like, it was pretty fun. You could see the little gusts when they'd lay down and everything would stop moving, and you'd see when that wind would pick up across the way just enough to know, okay, hopefully he's moving here. And sure enough, you'd move a little bit at a time. And it was just fun enough to watch that I always want my buddies to be successful regardless, but it was just such a fun one to watch that I really wish the finale would have been a little bit more exciting than watching him walk away. Run away.
Sprint away. Yeah. Yeah. That was that 1% that was missing right there. That's all
almost.
It takes.
Well, and if it makes you feel any better, think back to my stock on Frank last year when he sat and watched me goof around for a half hour trying to find him down in the bottom of the straw. Meanwhile, he's above me just watching the whole thing go down. So at least you got to within, almost 30, close to 30 yards without him even knowing you were there. So
yeah,
I mean,
lessons learned though.
Yeah. Frank was just watching you guys going, I wonder if those guys are going to find the car keys that they dropped. What they're up to.
Exactly. That's exactly probably what it looked like.
They've been looking for a minute.
Jeez. If only you and Paul could have seen us down there goofing off, that would have been a pretty good comedy show.
Would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think that evening, though, I felt so bad when I look over there with the binos and here's Rick and Damon. I'm like, oh my God, they did not just walk like 3 miles to watch that. And then we have to walk another mile and a half back to the truck.
Watch what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you guys are just staring at your boots, and I'm like, oh no.
I honestly, for like about a half a second before Nate said anything, I thought he was getting ready to pull his knives out.
Oh man,
that's what I was thinking initially, and then he's just like, "No, man, he didn't work out.
He fucked it up. Leave him here. He can walk back."
No, man, I'm proud of you. I think that's it's tough. It's tough to get that close, and so it's pretty awesome that you're able to make that happen and get close and have that experience. So
yeah, we went back that evening though, just to keep everything rolling here, and we definitely tried seeing if we could find them in another finger and whatnot. And Damon drove us back there. Nice chauffeur we got. Tried playing the wind a little bit differently. Hope they'd feed up, and yeah, nothing happened at all that evening. I mean, I just broke an arrow. That kind of sucked because after I fell, I should explain that. Like, I took such a bad fall. That was one of the thoughts in my head when I got on top of that hill. I'm like, man, I don't know if my bow's even gonna be on now. Like that thing took a tumble, and Rick had a small game point, so he's like, shoot these bushes and whatnot to make sure you're still on. And unfortunately, I smoked a bush at 52 yards.
Just center punched this like 1 inch thick pine tree. Couldn't have hit it any better, and just trashed your arrow.
Yeah, that was expensive, but whatever.
Millimeter left or right, and you would have deflected, but otherwise it was just like,
yeah, it made a Christmas tree out there, but
your Luminoc flash.
Got him.
Yeah, it was good to know that it was still on though.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think we went back and ate dirt that evening, and then I'm trying to think, what did we do the next morning? Did we?
I think we went right back there the next morning.
Yeah, I think you and I for sure did.
Yeah.
I think we all went back, but we sat at a different angle.
Yeah, we sent Rick and Damon off to a different point so you could just kind of see that bottom from a different perspective.
Yeah.
And we found the same buck again.
We sat and watched the same buck, all of us, for 4 hours.
Yeah, that dude. Yeah, let's definitely get into that one, because that was one that you and Damon got on.
Yeah,
and that was just like, Nate and I are like, this like, I wanted to see that deer die. It was pissing me off. I mean, like, they usually bed down around X amount of time, in the morning, and this dude is just like, I mean, Nate's talking dumb deer. I mean, this one was just smart enough, man. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, okay, he's gonna bed here. Nope. He's gonna bed here. Nope. Like, I mean, it was what, 11:30, I think.
Yeah, he'd stop and he'd kick dirt, and you can see there's a bed existing in these spots, and he'd stand there and he'd kick dirt around and get comfortable and like, nope, don't like this one now. Move on. And you just like, come on, dude, lay down. Everything else in this whole bottom, because we saw a pile of deer that morning. Everything else has been bedded up for 2 hours. Knock it off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He was just screwing around, because we lost sight of him for probably the last, I don't know, had to be an last hour, I think, but we were just kind of still sitting there, just glassing, trying to see what else we could see, and then finally he bedded.
Yeah, Nate and I had probably better eyes on it for sure, and then we sorry, I gotta call you guys out here, but Nate drops the coordinates as to exactly where we are. And Nate and I are like, where the hell are these guys? Like, it's been like almost an hour since we told you to come over here, and finally you guys show up, and you're like, oh, we went to the other glassing spot.
Yeah, well, we started hiking, and because I said same spot, and Nate goes, yep. And so then we start moving, and then it was, I don't know, maybe only 10 or 15 minutes into our hike up, then Nate texted the coordinates over, but I didn't know. I didn't check. I didn't feel it buzz in my pocket or whatever, so we just like went to the spot. So we ended up going about like a quarter mile past them. And we get there and they're not there. I'm like, God dang it. And I look at my phone and here's Nate's like, here's where we are. I'm like, God. So back up the hill we go to get back over to you guys.
Yeah, that was.
We thought maybe we went back to the truck just to practice, so you didn't get lost.
Yeah, we didn't. No, I just figured we'll give you a little extra time to work out a plan before we get there.
Oh, and we did.
Yeah, you had it down. You guys had it locked down. Perfect.
Oh, we had that dialed in.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys were definitely going to be doing a death march to get over there. That was the unfortunate part of how to get to this deer. But you guys made it quick.
Yeah, and it, in retrospect, it didn't seem all that bad. I mean, there was one steep section that we had to get through, and but yeah, that was a perfect setup. Nate's like, I think you got to do this and make this big loop. So it was like a big S, basically dropped down the backside of the hill that we were on, went around, and then got down below him, and then we got down into the river bottom where he couldn't see us, and we worked that all the way back across, and then came around, bumped a couple of does up out of there, came up, found a little shed, bumped another couple does, and then there was this finger that came out, and Nate had figured if we tried to get around that finger, we'd get spotted. And so we had to kind of go up and over through this saddle on that finger. And it was like, I don't know, it was probably 50 or 60 feet straight up through some trees. So it was, but it wasn't that bad. It was terrible for, just getting through it. You're just like, as the crow flies, just pushing through, you know what I mean? You're just like, grabbing branches and just getting through there as best you can.
And it looked so nasty from our side. Like, oh, if that's going to be miserable, I'm glad I'm not doing that stop.
Yeah. And it was another hot day too. Yeah. I'm like, dude, like you both have a bunch of gear going on your backs too. I'm like, oh, that's going to be bad. But
it was definitely one of those deals too, where like you could put your hands straight out and you were touching the hillside. That's how steep it was.
Yeah. And the last podcast, we should have said that like right away. If you want to listen to the last one, here we are, hour deep. But anyway, using the Onyx stuff, it's so nice being able to, look at that, because that's the only way that, Nate was able to. That's how we figured, you're probably going to get pinned,
the 3D feature you're talking
with the
about.
3D features, and just, being able to look from this saddle, that viewpoint of where he's bedded. It's like, you'd be risking it if you didn't take that saddle, straight uphill, unfortunately.
That accuracy was pretty impressive.
Yeah,
for sure.
All the 3D the features, I was really impressed with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, in the meantime, Nate's over here just sucking wind next to me. He's just passed out and enjoying himself.
Taking a nap.
Yeah. And then like you guys are working your way down, and like my perspective is at this point, I'm starting to have a mini panic attack because all of a sudden this deer gets up. He relocates. I'm like, oh God. Because I lose sight of him. Like, this is not good. Where'd he go? But that was a small little bit in between. I think at that point, Nate came too. And I was like, yo, the deer moved. Like, I think he's right behind this bush. But he's like, well, where's Rick and Damon? Like, at that point, we look over and you guys are like right at the saddle.
Right.
And I couldn't believe it. Like, it looked like miles away. And you guys are like standing right on top. I'm like, well, holy crap. You guys were able to make some time.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we had a pretty.
What was I out for?
Yeah, exactly. It's been a couple hours, man.
What happened?
Yeah, we had a pretty clear path all the way there, and there was just one moment where we kind of stopped before that saddle part and just kind of glassed up to see, if we were going to get any smoke signals from you guys saying, hey, he's gone or anything like that, and everything seemed good. So we pushed on and. But anyway, coming down the backside of that saddle was a little gnarly. But we got down in and got into position, and there was a spot where I was going to cut up this hill, basically the finger that he was kind of on, and we were going to kind of come up the side of it. And there was a part I was going to come up, and when we were kind of mapping it out, Nate was like, well, go down just a little bit further and then come up, because there's a couple does bedded there. And he's like, if you come up over here and bump them, then you'll bump them away from the buck and not towards the buck. And so we did that. We got into position, and all of a sudden I look up and there they are, those two does. They're just looking down at us, and then they kind of filtered off. And I was like, oh man, this could not be working out any better, And so we get into position next to the eight little pine trees or cedars that we kept pointing out, and kind of got into position. Well, actually, and before that, so we had to cut across this section of I don't know what species of pine it is, but it's like it crawls along the ground.
Oh yeah,
I don't know what you call it, but it just kind of lays across the ground. It doesn't really grow vertically, and so I'm like, we have to cross this, and it's probably like maybe 20 yards, maybe not even, maybe like 10 or 15 yards of this stuff, and I'm just like, and we're under 100 yards. We're probably 70 yards away or something like that. And I'm just like, do we go up and around this stuff, or do we just cut right through here? I'm like, man, I don't know if we can do it without making a ton of noise. My biggest fear was that we were going to try to walk across this stuff, and then I was going to slip and then fall into, a billion pine needles and, make a ton of noise and lose my bow or whatever. But Damon and I somehow managed to get across. I mean, we made some noise, but it wasn't too bad. We got over to the other side and we kind of get into position, and I'm looking to where this buck is supposed to be, and I cannot find him. He's nowhere. I'm like, what is the deal? I'm like, am I looking in the wrong spot? Or we got to be on the right hillside. I'm checking on X. I'm like, he's supposed to be right there. He should be 50 yards. He should be right there. And I'm glassing and I can't see him. And I'm trying to creep up just a little bit more and see him. And this whole time I'm thinking he's probably up on the top of the hill watching us like Frank did that one morning,
He's gone.
But the wind was perfect. Everything was working out. I was checking my shadow, to make sure I wasn't casting a shadow somewhere where he could see it.
Smart.
And and Damon is trying to follow. He's on all fours. At one point, Damon was almost inverted.
Y'all are looking like billy goats out there. I mean, Nate and I are like, what the hell are they standing on? Like, no way there's any ground there at this point.
Damon's like trying to get into position, and he's like kind of almost upside down a little bit, trying to get across this thing, trying to be as quiet as he can. And we're, like I said, under 50 yards away, still can't find him. And I'm like, we got to try to get above him. We got to go around and try to see if we can't get above him and see if we can get a better look at him. So that's what we did. We kind of backtracked a little bit, went up the hillside, and then came around up above him. And I'm looking, can't see nothing. Take another step, look, can't see him. So finally I get to a point where I can finally see. I'm like, I don't know if that's a deer or if that's a rock. But so I bring my rangefinder up and I'm looking, and I'm like, that's definitely a deer's butt. And I'm like, okay, that's him. And then I'm looking, and I'm like, okay, there's a big sage bush right there. I can't see his head. I can't see his antlers. So then I'm assuming he can't see me. And so then I'm like just about to like get into position, get things ready, and then I'm like trying to decide, like, okay, do we wait him out or what do I do? And then as soon as I bring the rangefinder out of my view, he just gets up and takes off out of that bed like a rocket. Like, didn't stand up, wasn't curious. I mean, he was probably, he must have been able to see through that sage bush and he could see me. And I don't know, I feel like the wind was good, but perhaps it swirled. I'm not 100% sure, but he was out of there. And I'm just like scrambling to grab my release, in case he stops in a position, maybe 70, 80 yards out where I can get a shot, but he just like kept going. And in retrospect, it's like, man, I should have like thrown out a doe bleat or something. Maybe that would have stopped him. But I just kind of sat and watched him, hoping he would stop, and he never did. And then finally he got up on this, on the adjacent side there, and kind of stopped and turned around and looked right at us. And Damon's like, "You think you can send one?" And I'm like, "Oh man," I'm like, that's got to be 125 yards at least. And I ranged him, and it was 128. And then all of a sudden he started taking a couple steps towards us, and I was like, here, let's get. So we tucked behind this little sage bush, and I was like, maybe if I throw out a doe bleed, he'll come over, just kind of a last ditch Hail Mary, but he wasn't having it. He just kind of stood there and looked at us for a while, and it was like, yeah, I'm out of here.
Gave you the hoof.
God, I thought it was going to happen. I just was like, still pretty awesome that, Damon and I were able to get that close. It ended up being 34 yards. Yeah. But just one of those deals where he didn't make 100% of the mistakes. So it didn't work out.
Yeah. I felt bad watching Damon through the spotting scope and the binos. He's just like mounted up on like this rock, and he's holding the camera like frozen still. And I'm like, dude, I'm like, my back is hurting from like 700 yards away. I'm like, oh my God, the sun's just beating down on these guys. Like, you can see their red faces from hiking, and Damon's just like frozen. I'm like, dude.
If I wasn't young, I'd still be hurting.
Yeah, exactly.
A week ago, I finally got all the needles out of my hands.
Oh, you did? Yeah.
But yeah, we were hiking in the dark, and I put my hand right on a cactus.
Yeah. Took home some treats with you there.
Yeah.
Damon got to the top of the hill, and I'm still like halfway up, working my way up, and I can just hear and I'm like, what happened? And I get up there, he's got the whole thing just stuck in his hand, and it's like, so how do you pull a cactus out with your other hand? You know what I mean? It's like, we got to get like a stick or something and try to pull it out. It was like,
you're hiking and you're grabbing shit, and all of a sudden I just put all my body weight down on my right hand, and it was just like cactus, and I'm like, oh, dude, that hurts.
1,000 spines in his hand.
Yeah,
that tough terrain of Nova Scotia will get you. She bites back.
Yeah, never knew there was so much cactus in Canada.
Yeah, I know, it's little known.
Cactus are the worst.
Mm-hmm. Damon, I got bit a few times when I was south of there, if you know what I mean, with Fondy. There was like one moment we're crawling hands and knees, and I just did the same thing. I'm like, I'm like, he looks back like, what's wrong with you? And I freaking put my knee right into a cactus. I'm like,
and it catches you off guard. catches you off guard
more
quick.
than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just one of those, like, usually I'm pretty, cautious of where I'm going, but they just tuck in with some of that grass that grows by them. And then all of a sudden, here you go, and thankfully I had the knee pads because I showed Katie, I was like, check out the knee pads. She's like, why is there a bunch of holes in it? I'm like, yeah, those are cactus that went right through. And the one that got me in the cheek too. So, I got beat up pretty good out there. I mean, or Nova Scotia, I've been pretty lucky about avoiding those things. Yeah, but I've been pretty lucky about not, getting beat up out there. But yeah, Damon just decided to play baseball with a freaking cactus that morning.
It was dark, hiking, and I was probably on my phone and mapping and stuff, and just bam.
I can see it being easier in the dark for sure.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. Yeah. So those are like the two main highlights, I think, that we had. There was the one evening that we were sitting there, kind of glassing across to the spot where we had seen a buck a few days before and spotted a like buck in velvet or an antlered doe. We won't know. I was hoping to find out because I spent the next day chasing after him, trying to see if I could get an arrow through him.
Yeah,
her.
Trying to remember. Is this when?
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
This is when Nate had left. Was that Nate's last day? I believe.
Nate had already been gone.
After that morning, that last stalk, I had to pull out because I had to be to meetings at bright and early the next morning.
Yeah, that's right. So then Monday morning, that's when we rolled into your Goldilocks adventure. Or I think that evening you guys
we went in there, found him while you were at a different spot, and then we got back to camp, told you about it, and then the next morning we went in after him, she.
Try to get ourselves into an ambush, a good ambush spot.
And you were up on the glassy knob, Hollywood.
Yep.
Watching.
Yeah, that's when I was the mountain lion bait for the day.
Yeah.
Dude, Nate, did you notice all the cougar crap out there?
Oh yeah, that area is a big transition spot for lions.
Yeah, I could. Well, I found out real quick. I mean, because we separated. I went to that knob, where we're talking about, and I make it 70 yards down the, trail, and I'm like, oh, it looks like some fresh crap, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I know that type of crap, and I'm like, nah, it's probably nothing. Like, it's, like I'm not. It's not a dog. It's certainly not a yote way up on the ridge here. And then I got like maybe another 100 yards, and then there's more, and then there's more, and then I'm like, dude, this has to be a lion. I'm like, this has to be a lion. And eventually I took a photo of it, and good old Apple did the identification of scat, and that was definitely mountain lion.
We were hiking back, and we're walking by this big cave. I'm like, and I didn't really say anything because I was just like, let's just keep walking, And then Ricky stops and starts taking a piss, and he's like taking a piss facing towards the cave. He's like, holy crap, dude, look at this big cave. You think the mountain lion's living in that? And I'm just like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, probably. We should probably keep walking.
And then I remember
great place to just stop and look.
Yeah. And then I remember going, I was like, but I think most of their movements are at night, so we're probably okay. And then I was like,
unless their food is standing outside of the cave, like we were.
I was like, but I ain't no wildlife biologist, so we should probably get out of here. And then we proceeded to mountain climb, where we probably should have had ropes and somebody belaying for us, because that was a sketchy climb out of there. I was like, hey, let's just cut this off. I'm like, let's just, instead of going all the way around, let's just go as a crow flies. We'll go right up this one draw. It shouldn't be too bad. I guess we'll find out when we get there. And when we got there, it was like, there's
one point
way.
I started slipping, and I looked like I was just like, oh, I'm gonna take Ricky out here pretty soon. Like, I'm gonna just.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I
was
like,
one point where I was, dude, it was crazy.
I was like, I wonder if I should give him some space, right? Like, let him climb up a little bit further, so where there's like a little bit of a gap in between us. But then I'm like, well, then if he does start slipping, then he's going to have so much momentum by the time he hits me that I'm not going to be able to hold myself. And then we're both going down. So I was like, I'm just going to stay close and we'll just hopefully we just don't slip.
Well, if you were farther away, you could probably move out of the way quicker, like, oh,
this is
see
true.
at the bottom. Yeah.
This is true. This is true.
Yeah.
It's the thought process, in the moment. Just
there was one point where I felt so vertical that like I couldn't like lean any more weight towards the hill. Like I was so and then you just run out of stuff to grab onto and you're like digging your fists in the dirt.
Fingertips.
You guys probably should have picked a different path.
Yeah. Might be.
I mean, it's not like there was a really easy way in, really easy way out. It just takes more time,
Yeah.
When the bighorns walk up there and just shake their head, they're like, "Nah, dude, you guys should also do the same."
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that morning I feel like there's still a lot to that morning yet. Like that was when I got to that glassing knob, dude, I'm serious. Like I don't know if I even told him about that, but like I was asking you guys, I'm like, where's Ashton Kutcher? Like I'm sitting like walking around this glassing knob like this. I'm getting punked right now. Like this is like what the hell's going on here? Like there's nothing moving that whole morning, and I'm just like bored. Like there's a porcupine crawling up behind me. I'm just like, doing nothing. And you guys are like sitting out on this knob, and they're like, oh, they should be coming in off the fields because like you guys have already kind of been through this ringer a couple times. I'm like, there's nothing happening, man. And then finally is like, I don't know what time it was, but I look way back from where you guys came from, and there's one buck. I'm like, okay, well, there's one. And then all of a sudden, it's like, I think you guys had spotted them about the same time. I look back over closer to you guys, and then, oh, boom, here's, I think, Hank Hill is all of a sudden up on the hill staring right at you guys. And then
they sent in the decoy. Like we get on this little bit of a knob, and I told Damon, I was like, man, I feel super exposed sitting right up here in the open, but I'm like, it was our best view of the top where they were coming from. So I'm like, I wanted to make sure that we could see them right away, so then that way we could kind of dip below the hillside and then come up with a plan, right? And then just kind of watch where they're coming from and everything. And Hollywood sees this buck way down over here, so I'm over here looking, and I'm just like, I don't see him. I don't know where he's at, And then I would kind of take the binoculars down for a little while, look around, and then, at one point I kind of went up a little bit higher just to make sure something didn't skirt, down below on the other side where we couldn't see it, and then all of a sudden I'm like, there's a freaking deer shed right there. Pick that up, looking at it and everything like that, and then we kind of get back into position and looking for that buck over there that Hollywood said that he could see, and I know nothing. And then all of a sudden it's like you turn and look over here, and boom, there's that buck right up at the top already. Eyes just, we're sitting.
Oh no!
Damon and I are just sitting there out in the wide open, just two big giant pimples on the hillside. Like it's like, don't move. And then so it's like, so one buck comes over, and then two buck come over, and then now here comes Goldie. So three of them come over the top, and we're just like trying to stay still, try not to move, just like hoping they don't see us. And they get down, and then they start going down this draw on the private ground. And so I'm like, okay, shoot. I'm like, all right, let's get down into these bushes real quick. And so we get all our gear, and we take about 3 steps, and then Goldie comes back up, and she's just standing. It is just standing right on the top, and you can't, those antlers are just like glowing, so you can't miss them, and just sitting up there, just looking right over at us. And so we're just like, Damon's like in a half squat position, like can't move. I'm like,
yet again.
Yeah. He's like stuck, can't, and we're just like sitting there, just waiting. And then one of the other bucks comes back up and like approaches Goldie and is like, I don't know, the way I was, the way the narration was playing out in my head is this other buck was coming up and just like, you don't belong here, go away, get out of here, to Goldie. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like kind of trying to just like posture and be like, stop following us, And then finally they move and they go down. So me and Damon quick rush down to the bottom. And then so we kind of got into a little bit of a position where we could maybe see them and see where they go. But then I don't know if I think they saw us moving, because then they kind of took off, and then they went up over by where Hank Hill was hanging out, and then eventually they ran all the way across the top on private, and then they went down, and I can't remember the gal's name, but it's just, there's a house there, and so they kind of came down, and they were kind of milling around in their yard, and so then Damon and I got down and kind of walked along that that bench, Nate, that's kind of out there where we were waiting for that one buck to try to come up out of there.
Yep.
So we walked along that bench and went all the way down as far as we could get to the west, and we were just kind of looking down into that draw and stuff. And Damon's like, if I was a buck, I'd probably just bed down in Granny's backyard over there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah,
safety.
You're probably right. It's private ground. I'm sure they know that they're safe over there. And so I was like, well, let's just give it 20 minutes and then we'll get out of here. And so I was kind of hearing some noise down low. And so I was just like, well, I'm going to investigate a little bit. So I kind of tried to slowly make my way down to where I could get into a position where I could see down into the timber. And finally I get down in there. And then, so one of those bucks blows out of there, and then Goldie's right behind him. And then they kind of work their way out and then across, and they work their way up the other side. And they're right on the border of public and private. And I'm like, so we give them a little bit. And I was like, they go up into this draw and we kind of lose them. So I thought, well, let's try to let's get around to this other side where we can look up into that draw. And if they're in there bedded down, I'll go after them. And if we can't find them, we'll just get out of here. And so we did that. We went around, couldn't find them up in there. And so we just bailed. Yeah. And that's when we came across the mountain lion cave and then, tried to work our way out of Hell's Canyon.
Yeah. There's not a lot that happened there. It's just like that morning was just so wild to me. It's just like so slow. And then all of a sudden it was just like, dude, they just start pouring in. I'm like, but later than I guess I had expected, where I'm just like, man, this is like, there's no way we take a 0 on today. Like, this spot seems too good to not see anything. And then finally it's like, they just start one after another. And I could just like, it's so funny watching it in real time. Like, oh, here comes one. And then you guys like turning around going, oh, and there's a deer.
Yeah.
Like freezing. I'm like, oh God. Oh. Yeah, that was pretty
Didn't it say super warm that night too? Was that the night it was really warm all night?
I believe it.
So. Yeah, it did get warmer. Yep.
Yeah.
Because I remember like ripping having a panic in my sleeping bag because it was like so warm in there and I couldn't find the zipper. And I'm like, get my arms out. I'm like, oh. What's that, Nate?
Oh, it's so hot in here. This is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Couldn't say that a year ago.
Yeah, no kidding.
No.
I was living pretty lavish in my little mansion that I had.
Yeah.
Just soloing it out.
Yeah. Yeah, you have a nice little setup there.
Yeah. If Luke came along, we would have been pretty good buddies.
Luke would have been sleeping right underneath you.
He would have been wondering if I'm wearing the nude pair of boxers or if that's for real.
You're just like a Ken doll. Like,
that's just
flat.
Yeah. It's pretty good. Yeah. Then what we do? Oh, the last morning, I think we went the bowl again.
The last night, yeah.
Oh yeah, that was because you stayed an extra day for Goldilocks, and then that didn't pan that evening.
So that evening we went back to the bowl.
That's right.
And as soon as we got to glassing spot, that buck that I put a stock on.
Oh yeah. We didn't even. Butts didn't even hit the dirt.
He was sitting there perched right on top of this hillside, and he was just looking right at us, 600 and some yards away, but sitting right at the top, just sitting there, and. You come across this like little bit of saddle and you kind of expose yourself a little bit. But I was like, there were some bikers that had come in before us, and then they were like coming out as we were going in. And I thought, well, I'm like, if there was some bikers, biking through there and stuff, I'm like, And if they didn't already blow a deer out, us walking across that saddle certainly isn't. So we just kind of walked across it. And then when we got to the other side and got into the position, I'm sure that buck just sat there and watched us the whole time go work our way into the glassing spot. So then I was just kind of like, oh, well, that was dumb. So there was our first mistake. And then, so he's just sitting there, but I'm like, all right, well, I think I got a plan. I got a good idea of the wind direction, and we're kind of trying to figure out, like, what do we do? Do we try to back out and maybe come around the other side of the draw and see if we can come in on the backside? And it's like, no, we don't have time for that. And then Damon pointed out, he was like, I mean, he goes, I think we got a max of 45 minutes before he gets up and starts feeding out of there. I'm like, yep, got to make a move. We got to go. Let's go.
Yeah, it was Hail Mary time.
Yep. So here we go. And it was a good spot to be in too, because even though he was kind of Hollywood was like, do you want me to just sit up here and do like a little dance to keep him distracted while you guys run down the hillside? And I was like, absolutely, that'll work out just fine. But yeah, so Damon and I literally ran down the backside of that hill. And we kind of got to a point where it was like, okay, we have to make this big, huge circle and go down the backside and go around. Or I was like, we might be able to just cut across this little like 30-foot section. And if we can get across that without him seeing us, then that'll cut our hike in half and we can get to him faster. And so we did that. And every little step of the way, like we would go, maybe 10 yards, get behind a tree, and then I'd glass up to see if he was still there. And yep, he's still there. And then finally we get all the way across and we get to a tree, and then I glass up there and his head is turned and he's kind of looking in our direction. I can't tell if he's looking at us or what, but he has turned his head. And I'm like, oof, that might not be good, but I'm like, let's go. So we take off and we get in there, and then we get down to the bottom, and we don't get too far before Hollywood's able to signal to us that he's gotten up and he's starting to feed his way kind of out of there. He like wasn't spooked. At least I didn't know this at the time. I just figured he busted us and he was kind of taking off. But
no, he just had stood up. But for me, I was like, man, you guys were freaking maze runners the day before. So I'm like, for all I know, you guys are about to freaking pop out on them. But then it's like I finally was able to see you guys or connect with you guys and just be like, yeah. He's going away from you.
Yeah.
So good luck, because you're not up the hill yet. Do what you want. And I guess go ahead. I mean,
well, there was, and then so Damon and I were kind of talking about it, and I was like, well, we could hustle down, basically go through that same drainage that we went through the day before or a few days before, try to get over on the other side, see if we can't get ahead of him, and then maybe he'll come past us. But it's like there's 15 drainages along that whole thing that he could at any point take a turn and go south, and then we would never see him. And then it's like, and even if we did get out in front of him, there's a 250-yard swath that he could walk past us on. You know what I mean? Even if we're in the middle, I mean, I suppose there's a chance, but at the same time, it's like it was getting kind of dark, and it's just like, well, all right, let's just back out, and we'll kind of hike, or we'll kind of walk these drainages. We'll kind of look down, and as we're on our way out, and maybe we get lucky, and a fork will be coming out of there or something like that. And we were not so lucky.
Yeah, you guys. Yeah, at that point, that was it.
And even if he hadn't moved, once we got in there, the wind was kind of blowing a little bit differently, and so I was like, I don't know. I feel like we would have had to have pivoted and made a different move on him.
Yeah.
And then we would have had to come out like in front of him where he was looking. And so that would have been really tough to get in within shooting distance.
I mean, just the fact that he was still actually bedded up though at, what did he say? It was like 4:30. It was kind of crazy. It was like, whoa, it's pretty late. Like, generally they're typically starting to hit the hooves, at that point. Yeah. But he was still there, so.
I got some rad pictures of him just chilling up there.
Yeah, all in can pay for those.
Yeah, just
hanging.
Just looking over at us. It was pretty cool. But so that was pretty much that. That was the end of it. We saw a flock of 30 turkeys or so on our way out.
Oh yeah, we did, didn't we?
A couple of bushes that we thought were maybe deer.
My truck Finally doesn't smell like skunk anymore.
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
I forgot about the skunk, man.
Well, it's a good cover scent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no
it was.
kidding.
Yeah.
Good God.
I wish I could say it's helped me in the woods, but it hasn't.
Yeah, that was stanky.
So that was all she wrote. So Damon and I took off the next morning, but then Hollywood stuck around, hunted a little bit, a couple more days.
Yeah, I went to my old stomping grounds from a few years ago, and wow, I told you, I actually went up there the one night. I think Nate took off that night actually when I went up there, and I was like, oh yeah, boys, there's a good one in there, and and it's one of those things where you're just like, oh, there's a good one. Let's see a photo. Yeah, it's a good one though. It's a good one, promise. But
yeah.
After you guys had left, of course, that's when you had left your spotter for me, and so that's when I finally got that video and that picture where it's just he was pretty gnarly.
Yeah,
like that
was
I don't know what you'd call that, like his G2 or 3. I always forget, but like the one base had like 3 points coming right off of that, where he kind of like palmated out, like 3 points there, some kickers. I mean, just a buck that any one of us would have loved to have on a wall. So.
It was gnarly.
Yeah. But I mean, I'd seen them in that drainage the couple nights before or something like that, and so I was like, well, I hadn't in the previous years sat on that side, but I'm like, well, saw something there, so let's check it out. And then that's when that morning the sun came up, and I got like a photo kind of like you guys had with Hank Hill, just up on the just perfectly skyline. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a nice one. And I'm like, that doesn't, like, the rack I saw from like 700 yards or whatever it was. I'm like, I mean, if you can see a rack that well 700 yards away with 10 power binos, it's probably pretty decent animal.
Yeah,
like I feel like it, I feel like that's not the one. And then like 2 seconds later he comes over the edge, and I'm like, that's the one. Like, and those two worked down, and I just watched them feeding that little draw, and then that bigger buck, he was just raking that. I mean, those poor pine trees, man. I don't know what they did to him, but I mean, Jesus, he straightened them out pretty good. So he was going through and just raking them up and down. And there's another buck that came out, and that was something that turned, or nothing that turned into something that turned into nothing again. Where it's just like, I mean, I just thought this whole thing, I'm like, there's no way. Like, I lost sight of them, and they were really close. It was one of those. Like, I swear to God, the private landowners doing it just to, trick you into getting screwed, because there's no fence line, but it's electronically posted. So, got to mind your P's and Q's. And it's like, this side of the butte was private, this side is public, and they went around it. And then I lost sight of them. And like this is just a whole trick in itself. And then spotted where one of the bucks went, and he fed off to private. And then I had seen like just a little fork and, this group of pine trees, and at this point I'm already like, I think I had 1 day left, so I'm like, well, I'm going for it, F it. Put this long extravagant stock together, same thing where I'm like just putting so much separation between me, them, the wind, all this stuff, and then get literally like on the other side of this butte of where I'd seen this spike at. And I had like a selfie video where I'm like, well, this might be for nothing, so it smells like, dude, I haven't smelled like a rutted up buck in a minute, but like it smells. I don't know if it's just rut or it's just his spot to piss in, because I mean, I was sitting like probably in his piss. It was stanky. So I'm like, well, it smells like pee here. It's probably for nothing, but I'm gonna go for it. Get up over this hill. Sure enough, there's nothing. Come back over the hill, slam down a honey stinger. And I'm like, oh, I'll drop down in the creek. And then I'm like, well, that looks like hell getting down there. So I'll actually just skirt this side of that butte I just walked, and then get down to the creek eventually. Shoot, I made it into the thick bushes. What the hell are those things? That I call them like Jerusalem thorns, but like they're bushes that have like needles on them that are like freaking 2 inches long.
Yeah.
Those bastards. I got into a bunch of them, and they freaking hurt too.
Yeah. And I don't know what they are, but I know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah. So I'm like walking through, just kind of not really I was carefully walking, but not like giving too many shits, because at this point I'd sat there long enough. I'm like, there's nothing there. And just as I take another step, I just hear crashing come flying out of there. I'm like, what the hell's that? Like 50 yards. And here comes Mega Rack. Like, I don't know where the hell he was. I had moved positions at one point to like glass up this spot. Like, couldn't see nothing in there. He was so tucked in with that other one, and they gave me the old, white butt goodbye. And just, but the good thing is, like, I knew exactly where they're going, because that's where the normal spot I hunt was. And yeah, kind of one of those, like, it was early enough in the day, got back and ate, and it was just like, kind of squirrel brain type of thing where I was like, oh, there's one, oh, there's one, oh, there's one. But yeah, I eventually toward evening looked way up in this drainage, and I saw this lone nice deer way up in there. I'm like, I'll go for it, give old college, send. And 3/4 mile walk around, here we go again, same thing. I'm thinking like you guys, I'll try and wind bump these does the other way and make this whole stock. And I get down into this freaking drainage, and there's like a creek valley or something, I don't know. So basically like a dried up riverbed. But get right down in there, and those stupid does, man, just oh my god. Like, I literally had to it's like, I know. And dude, I had to freaking,
you're miserable.
Dude, I flocked one, brother.
It crossed my mind, but when that big boy, when I finally, at one point I got better eyes on him, I'm like, oh my god, it's the one. Like, here we go again. Like, this is the big boy. And I get in that like riverbed, and here come the does. I'm like, you gotta be shitting me. So I'm laying down on my side because there's nothing around me. So I'm just laying in the grass and the mud and whatever. And I range them, and they're 100 yards away. I'm like, please, just for once in your stupid lives, do not be a doe and look over here and somehow pick me out of all the garbage. And they actually didn't. So they fed through this little funnel that I conveniently wanted to be at, 10 minutes before that. Because I'm just thinking in my head, like, he's going to feed right down. I'm going to meet him face to face. This is a rerun of 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And they beat me to that funnel. And eventually I snuck up in there. And all of a sudden, wow, this dude's horny as hell. Just, out of all the times, yep, all of a sudden he smells some tail. And I'm like I got 6 does in front of me. How am I going to win this battle? And that's basically how she went. I mean, he initially went away from me toward those does, smelling them and grunting at them. And then they came back. I'm like, no way do they come back to this funnel. I'm like, this would be money. It's 35-yard shot. This is done. And they, the closest they got was 120 yards. They came back to me, and I just had to watch them sit up on this freaking ridge side and hang around some tail. And yeah, then that last morning, that was just pathetic. So I found a shed, but the last morning I was just like hopeful. But yeah, I ended up getting winded by a herd of 13 does, and that was just, I'm like, what the hell? Like, I didn't care so much about them because I'm like, looking for where the bucks are. And yeah, that one never panned out. Not at all.
Yeah.
And that was the story she wrote. Basically drifted into the one town to the south by 45 minutes on E.
Yeah. Yeah, because the one truck stop doesn't have fuel right now.
Yeah. I did not know that.
Really anything.
Yeah, they're pretty wiped clean right now.
Yeah.
I went home with the, tail tucked between the legs and head down, but it was a good time. But yeah, that was just to top it off, pull into the gas station. Oh, no pumps. Cool. I have I think it was like 50 miles to E, and yeah,
and it's 51 to the next gas station.
Yeah, exactly. And the south wind, and I'm like, oh my god! Like, as I'm driving south, I'm like, please make it just roll into the gas station. God. Yeah, that was it. But yeah, it's like no arrow scent up there. Yeah, not a whole lot.
Yeah,
nothing. But I'll probably go back, maybe chase some whitetail since it's a few-hour rip to some public out there. But yeah,
we'll try to see if we can get back out. I mean, ultimately though, it was a blast. It was a great time. Always good having having Damon back in camp too, that you got some great shots while we were out there. In fact, I'm actually more excited about the shot you got of me and Hollywood holding hands, frolicking past the sunset. That's a beautiful photo. It has more meaning than people even know, which I won't get into detail. But it actually may end up being the cover of our next catalog, just to
sweeten the pot.
Yeah.
It's only missing some e-bikes.
Just out of spite.
Be cooler if we had our e-bikes.
Yeah. E-bikes with a doe in the back. But yeah, so thanks again to Damon for taking time out of his week to come hang with us, and Pace for me, he's got those long legs, so he moves pretty quick, and he's about half my age, so he's able to keep me pushing along, making me feel like I don't feel young, but I try to be it. So
I feel old still.
That always helps out a ton. But so thanks for that, and thanks Nate for coming out again, man. That was such a blast, and I hope we can do it again one of these days, man. We're gonna put one down and hopefully pack one out.
It's coming due. There's gonna be a day.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I feel like the next time, like if you kill something, you're gonna have to let me know, and I'll take a 9-hour drive out there to help you pack it out, just to repay you somehow. I'll be like all your buddies and show up right when you're done.
Yeah, Nate's already deboning it at that point. Thanks, man. Why don't you have a beer? Sit on my couch.
He's already back in Bismarck.
Yeah, you can come back just to help grind and
Yeah.
It was still, it was a great time. Some cold nights, and I guess it was nice hanging out in Nate's little shack. That was pretty sweet, watching the pros hunt, and their super skilled setups.
Mule deer hunting in Alberta.
Yeah.
And what's that grass?
About the cold nights.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, you wouldn't know.
Remember those?
Yeah.
Were we in the same spot?
Yeah. With that alarm going off, though, man, I was a little worried about you. I was worried you might get carbon monoxide poisoning or something by morning.
Got the battery replaced. Got the new carbon monoxide alarm in there. Surprisingly, it's not going off now that it gets full power.
That's good.
That's weird.
It's good that it was just that and not like legit carbon monoxide filling up in your trailer. But that was a pretty rad addition to the camp.
Yeah. Seriously though, appreciate the letting me join you guys. I mean, I felt like I was intruding a little bit, but that was pretty sweet. Just
you were
learning some stuff from Nate, and just at least getting to hang around Damon a little bit.
It
I'm
was
not the one
fun,
with
man.
the
It was
camera
good to have you
following.
there.
Yeah,
your camps are always the best. It's always good when you can share camp with some fellas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then getting the stories coming from Griff and Logan and those guys out there was fun too.
Yeah, absolutely zero shit talking at camp. It's just all rainbows and sunshine. So that's some good times.
That was a good time. All right, well, we'll probably let Nate and Damon get back to work here. We don't got anything to do around here. We're just going to go shoot our bows, but
that's what we all say.
Yeah. But in any case, well, folks, you can see the video version of this episode on the Vapor Trail YouTube channel, so make sure you head on over there. Give us a like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you can be up to date on all things archery. Of course, make sure you check us all out on Vapor Trail and Stoker Eyes on all of our social channels. You can find Damon Wolfe at All for One Creative and Nate Axtman. He would prefer that you didn't look him up on social media, so don't worry about him. He's kind of a sleeper. He does his own thing. So,
yes.
Simple as that.
Ben Gatorm.
And if you do find him on Instagram, just DM him constant videos of electric bikes.
Yeah, or crossbow kills.
My favorite two things right there, gentlemen.
Yeah. If you can find a post with a guy on an e-bike with a crossbow, please send that to Nate Axman on Instagram.
Yeah, preferably able-bodied, not youth or elderly where they belong. But yeah, fully able-bodied. That's my favorite.
To sweeten this whole thing, right when I got back from right when I got back from the trip, I sold 3 crossbows to 3 guys that are using e-bikes. The day I got back, man, I was like, Nate would just be rolling right now.
There's going to be a few tears shed after we get off this now, just having to hear that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man.
Sorry, bud.
It's just business.
All right. Well, thanks again, guys. Thank you, everybody, for following along and listening to this episode of the Range Podcast. And with that, we're going to pack up our bows and arrows, and we're hitting the range.
Yep. That's it.
Have a great day, everybody.
Peace.
Thanks, boys.
Right. Thank you. My
Thanks,
ears.
dude.
Hang out for a second. Vapor Trail is now offering an exclusive discount to the Range Podcast listeners. Enter promo code TRP15, that's TRP15, at checkout for 15% off VTX bowstrings and Vapor Trail and Stokerized branded t-shirts, hats, and other gear.